Hello, everyone. I'm Jenalynn Weed, and welcome to another episode of Chatting with the Chosen. I have the honor and privilege of speaking with a special guest who played Tamar, who I think should be named the bestest friend in the universe to her friend who is paralyzed. I have the one, the only, Amber Shana Williams. Amber, how are you? On behalf of Against the Tide, thank you for taking the time to have this interview. How are you doing?
I am doing great. I am so honored to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, and where are you calling from?
So currently right now I'm in Madrid, Spain, like smack dab in the middle of the city center.
Wow. Oh my gosh. That must be so thrilling. I mean, with Corona, I bet, it's been a little quieter than usual, but is it still kind of, kicking life even in the midst of Corona?
Well, we started our quarantine a lot earlier than everyone else because we were the center of a lot of things right away. But then we kind of got past that. And now we're kind of back on the streets where things are back at it. We're living life again, of course, safely with our mask and things. So things are almost back to normal. So you might hear a few ambulance or something come by during the interview. Life is almost back to normal back here.
Oh, that is so great to hear. I know back, in the States, some things are a little back to normal, some things aren't. And so, it's just kind of still taking life one day at a time.
Absolutely.
You never quite know what tomorrow is going to be like. So, yeah, but I just wanted to start us off with a fun question. So
Okay.
our fans might not know this because you didn't do this in your scenes in The Chosen, but you are highly skilled in sword combat, firearms, and other forms of stage fighting. Why did you decide to focus on skilled arts such as these?
Okay, so a lot of people don't know that it is a dream of mine to be a superhero. It really is. I've always wanted to be a superhero, or at least play one on TV. And so the first thing I thought was, I just love the sword. I love the long sword. I love the katana blade. And that was the first thing I was drawn to. And so I started learning how to use all the different swords. And then I started learning how to do some stage combat. Now, of course, because of some of the things that happened in quarantine, I didn't get to finish all of my training, a little bit more hand-to-hand combat, as well as dagger use and how to use a cape, really mysterious like. But hopefully I'll get back to that really soon. But yeah, that is the best thing ever. I have done a couple of projects where I've had to use it. And it was really cool doing like barrel rolls and jumping in the air and stunt. I did my own stunts. It was really awesome. So a lot of people don't know that. And I don't think that Tamar is going to be doing too much of that anytime soon. But would that be awesome?
That would be incredible. Just like have her. We'll see. I feel like she should have gone through the crowd like that. Just be like, move aside, just making way.
Amazing. Tell Dallas to put it in there for season 2.
Yeah. That would have been incredible. Oh my gosh. So are you looking to be in the next Wonder Woman movie or?
Okay, so I'm not super picky, but of course you have Black Panther, and that just provides so many opportunities for people, especially people that look like me. And they have so many more weapons that they use with their hands as well. You have the staff, and you have more sword play, and it's just beautiful to watch them. And then they have the Dora Milaje, which is of course the the women leading the army, which you don't always see quite a bit as well. And so, yeah, it could be, I could be in Amazon with Wonder Woman. I have, look, if Marvel is watching, they should be watching The Chosen, by the way. So watch The Chosen, Marvel. And then also call me because I'm waiting to be a superhero.
Oh my gosh. I love that. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, and just how empowering does it feel to just,
It feels amazing. It really does, especially since there's not a lot of women that are doing combat, especially weapons combat. And so I'm fighting against a lot of guys. And so when I'm fighting against them and I have the upper hand, you can't imagine how awesome that feels. Like, yeah, you come down there.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, see, but that means that you were twice as skilled because you have to work twice as hard to get the leg up on them. So that means you're twice as good as they are. Oh my gosh. I absolutely love that. And so kind of just zooming out to your whole entire story. So stage combat is part of your story, but I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about your backstory and why you decided to pursue acting professionally.
Well, acting was something I always wanted to do growing up. But as most of us know, our parents are always really concerned about having a life that is more stable. That's your parents' dream for you. They want you to be a doctor and a lawyer, a teacher. And so that's what I did. I went to college. I got a degree in human resource management and sociology. But my heart was just still calling. And acting is something that you don't really choose. It chooses you. It's really hard to explain. I even went to nursing school, was darn near finished. And then it just called out to me. There was nothing else I could do. I was just like, I'm leaving. I can't finish this. Someone really close to me passed away. And he had some very clear words to me before he passed. And he said, it was my grandfather, my best friend. He said, I worked hard enough in this life for you to do whatever it is you want to do in yours. And with that, I made the decision. I said, you know what? Life isn't over until it's over. You can always start over again if you decide that something is not for you. I'm going to do this right now because life is short. You have no idea when it's your last day because tomorrow isn't promised. I'm going to do this right now. And so I decided, I guess it's 2020. So maybe this was 2013. I made the decision to do it full time. So maybe I began in 2010, but it wasn't until 2013 that I decided to quit everything else, become a full-time actor. And it's not easy at all. It is a very difficult lifestyle and career choice, but it's rewarding. You meet so many beautiful people and you learn so much about yourself. And that's kind of how I got started into that. And I tell you, my life has changed so very, very much since deciding to become an actor, for sure.
Wow, that is incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. And I'm sorry for the loss of your friend. But would you say, so you mentioned a little bit about, how you learned so much about yourself with acting. And so would you say that that is what draws you to acting, or can you even explain and put into words what draws you into acting?
Yes, I think what a lot of people experience as human beings in general is a lot of censorship, and we tend to hold a lot in how we really feel and what we really want to say. But as an actor, I can be people who don't have to do that and who do not do that. Imagine having a friend who is paralyzed and how you would love to scream at the top of your lungs to the world for someone to save them. But how often have you actually done that? Tamar did it. And it gives you a chance to have this voice. So being an actor allows you to use the voice that you often hide. You can be anyone, you can be everyone. Now I can tell my mom I am a doctor on TV. I am a nurse and a lawyer on TV. But yeah, it provides you this opportunity to actually be more of yourself than you've ever been. You can tap inside into all of those places that you normally keep hidden. And it allows you to truly express who you really are with no bars and no censorship.
Wow, that was just incredible. I know that reminded me of whenever I watch that episode 6 of The Chosen, and Tamar is coming in with her friends and they encounter Mary, and Mary's like, I can't, like, there's no space. And, Mary's like, I don't want to make a scene. And Tamar says, wouldn't you want your friends to make a scene, if this was you? And that just makes me stop in my tracks every single time of, if I was in Tamar's place, like, would I, pursue every single option for my friend, helping my friend, which is why I think Tamar is like the bestest friend in the universe, because she did everything in her power to get her friend healed by Jesus because she knew it could happen. So thank you for sharing that. Acting definitely does release a lot of like energy and like personalities that you don't really get to tap into all the time. And so, you get to play a doctor on TV and learn things about humanity, in different ways. So
absolutely. You learn the whys, the whats and the whys about everything that you do and everything that other people do. And it's like, that's why she did that. That's why I think this way. And you really don't think about that when you're actually behaving a certain way. You don't think, why do I behave this way? For example, when you get into an argument, let's say with your significant other, and then you give them the quiet treatment. Well, you don't give them the quiet treatment so that they don't talk to you. You do that because you really want them to keep working hard to talk to you and to fix what's wrong. But you're giving them the opposite reaction of what you actually want them to do. And so when you become an actor, you kind of learn how our behaviors can often be in contrast with what it is that we want. And so it's really, really actually a beautiful thing, and dips into psychology and sociology and all these other amazing things. So it's really nice.
Yeah.
And I think everyone needs a best friend like Tamar, for sure.
Yes, I know. And just with acting, I just think like actors are so smart. Just how you said, dipping into psychology and sociology and why do we do the things that we do? And they, actors such as yourself, you get to really figure out why humanity does certain things. And and so that is just beautiful to see. And so kind of focusing in on this just a little bit, what is your acting process when you prepare and step into a role? And how was that for your role in The Chosen? So could you walk us through your prep of the role of Tamar?
Right, okay. So in general, in preparing for any role, you want to make sure that you know the story as a whole. So I did some extensive research to figure out who Tamar was. And I realized that Dallas took creative license with Tamar. And when I found that out, I was like, okay, this is actually amazing, because now he is trusting me to give this character life, to create who she is. So now it is quite a bit of a responsibility to become someone else who already exists, but it's even a bigger responsibility to create someone from the roots, from the ground up. And so I had to start by first laying the groundwork of who she is and where she came from. And you get a little bit of her backstory about, she grew up in Egypt.
Is that Egyptian?
Yes, I grew up there.
Her father was Ethiopian. You're not quite sure about her mother. Her mother may not have been around. She may have passed away. A lot of what was going on back in those times. She speaks several languages, as many people did, especially in a port town like Capernaum. And she's very sentimental. She's a very sentimental, caring person. And I've come across many people in my life who are very much like Tamar in this very beautiful, introspective, sentimental way. And I kind of started to channel who they were when I decided to create this character. And I really had to think on the words that she used and that she spoke. And there was a softness to her, but there was also a strength. And it's just like with most women, I feel like a lot of times there's a monolithic idea that women either have to be soft and delicate, or we have to be strong and superhuman. And we are all of the above. And that's what Tamar is. Tamar she encompasses all that it is to be a woman, to be strong and soft, to be tough and vulnerable. And so I wanted to be able to encompass all of that, because she had fear, and like she knows that Jesus is so powerful and she trusts him with all of her might. She had 2 sentences with this man, but somehow trusted him with one of her best friend in her entire life, who she probably grew up with, to heal him. Like how incredible is that? And to put all your faith into this one moment, into this man, all of her might knew this. And so you have to dig deep to be able to find that kind of strength and that trust, because a lot of us don't have that. We have a lot of hurt and a lot of disappointment. And she had to move past that. So I want to find some place in my heart and someone, like I said, my grandfather was really close to me, where I would still have this amount of trust. And of course, in my faith itself, something I still had enough trust in to be able to give that to Tamar. And the lines, when it comes to learning lines, that's actually the least of your worries as an actor. What you need to do is understand what's happening, because when you understand what's going on, everything else follows. And so that's kind of the process that I went with her. I had to give her the groundwork. I had to give her a spirit, a soul, and a backstory. And even though you don't get to see that on the scene, that's a lot of the work that goes into a character that many people who are watching a film don't get to see. Is even if you see a character in passing, they're 30 seconds on the screen, an actor often has sat there and just pounded in all kinds of back history into creating that 30 seconds that you have seen on screen. And that's exactly what I did with Tamar.
Wow, that was just beautiful. And speaking for myself, when I watched it, I definitely did get that softness when she first introduces herself, saying that she grew up in Egypt, and you have that softness. But then, when she's approaching the crowd, she just will not give up. And when you were talking about how, most of the work people don't get in that 30-second, passing by, I feel like that's kind of like an iceberg. You see only the tip of it, but then all of the work that goes into it, probably like, the majority of the percentage, 80-90%, is all unseen. And just the practice and the work that actors have to go through. I mean, for a role, even if it's just passing on screen, you might be dedicating weeks to doing that backstory. And at least, to me, I could see all of that in your portrayal of Tamar, and it was so beautiful to see. And you just did such an excellent job portraying so much backstory in somebody who, like you said, it was creative licensing. And so, she's not in the Bible by name. And you just kind of had to create that role. So it was just beautiful. And we definitely saw you do your homework. And so thinking back to acting and your passion for it throughout your life, who has inspired you as an actor and just as a person? So, that person doesn't need to be an actor, but who've been, a couple of inspirational role models for you as an actor and as a person?
I mean, your running theme that you're going to get from me today is my grandparents. Okay. They were my heroes and my best friends. So they were always the ones that encouraged me that I could do any and everything that I could possibly put my mind to. And so as a personal hero, it would be them. And as acting, I have a few actors that I just absolutely adore them every time I see them on screen. One of which is Charlize Theron. That lady is incredible every time I see her on screen. And when we were talking about the sword fighting and the stage combat, like, she has to be nearing 50 now, and she still does it all. And it is just beautiful to watch. I also love Angela Bassett. Every time I see her on screen, she's just this picture of strength, and she's like statuesque. And I just look up to her. I call her like my TV aunt. Like, like one day I'll be able to work with you. You're my TV aunt. I just love these two women so much. I have a few other actresses that I love to see them work, like Naomi Harris. I adore their work and the passion that they put into everything that they do. it's just magnificent. And of course, I'm not going to leave out my chosen cast. Now, let me tell you, before I started, I'm like, okay, well, these are actors just like me. La, 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 la. These guys are incredible. Okay. So they went and found every amazing actor they could find to do this series. Now, I have never been a part of a project where I was like so proud and in awe of the talent that sat right beside me. And I worked with some celebrities, everyone from like Bruce Dern to Robert Redford. And I'm sitting here next to Liz and I'm just like, you know what I mean? Liz Tavish. And I'm Jonathan. Listen, like they're like my new little heroes, you know what I mean? But it's just amazing. So I'm not going to leave out my chosen cast either. Chosen cast is phenomenal. Top tier.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And wow, you worked with Robert Redford? Holy cow.
Yes. Now, the sad thing about being an actor sometimes, and it happens, is you do all of this work that I talked to you about. You go through, first of all, you prepare, you work your behind off to do the audition. You get into the audition, and your nerves, and then you make it through. You get the call back. You're excited. You get the second call back. You're really excited. You try not to freak out. Then you find out, okay, you're on hold. You do a little Cabbage Patch dance. Hey. And then the agent calls and they're like, you're booked it. And you're like, thank you so much. Like the world is like, just everything is just, it's amazing. And then you get on set. It's the greatest day of your life. You're in hair and makeup, whole 9 yards, right? Then when the film finally comes out, you find out after you tell your whole family, hey, watch it, my movie's coming out. My episode's about to come on. And they cut you out.
Oh no.
Yes, it happens so much to actors.
Really?
And it's not a nod to how good you are or how bad you are as an actor. It just happens. Sometimes there's time constraints. Often we can't help to take it personally. Sometimes you're human, but this happened to me very recently. So sometimes that happens too, but it's life.
Yeah, I know it is hard, and it's hard not to take it personally because, like you said, you put so much effort into it, and you did the whole 9 yards, hair, makeup. You're on set with these people, and your 20-second scene might be 20 seconds over their needed cut, so they'll just take it out, and it's just like, especially if you tell people, hey, I'm in this movie with this person, people are like, whoa, and then
worlds, you're like, catch me on episode 7. And then it comes on and you're like,
you should just like say that you're like somebody in the background who they can't really see, but you should just say that.
That's my eyelash right there. If you just zoom in, there it is. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. I think you could probably save some face by doing that. But yeah, well, that is just incredible to hear, and incredible to hear about cast members from The Chosen. It doesn't matter if you're an A-lister or not. That doesn't, determine how skilled you are or talented you are. And all of the actors, it has been amazing just to see the caliber. And, even if you're not a Christian, just the caliber of the show. Like I have some friends who watched the show and they said, just taking the religious stuff aside, it's an amazing period piece. Like they did so much historical context background work and just the acting. And it is just an incredible piece of art, taking, religious stuff aside, like even if you're not religious, it's so beautiful. And they just got such great actors. And so I'm really excited to see season 2 when it starts production. They just greenlit it. I don't know if you heard that, but they just greenlit it. So I know all the fans are really excited now that they're going to be starting production again. So but So since you were specially featured in one episode of The Chosen, have you been able to watch the whole series yet? And if so, what do you think of it as a series?
Absolutely. I haven't just watched it once. I've seen the series a good 6 or 7 times. Listen, I have done several projects. I have done tons of movies and series and, what say you? And there has been nothing I have watched multiple times but The Chosen. Like literally multiple times. I have sent the link to just about everyone I know, whether they're Christian or not. I'm like, look, watch this, watch it. Not just because I'm in it, but because it's awesome. Like it literally is awesome. Like the first episode, I was like, okay. Because before, when you get the audition for something, you just want to do a little bit of research. And so I think at that time, only the first 4 episodes had been out before they did the last 4. And so I was like, the first episode, this is good. Okay, let me watch the rest of it. And I was just like, I have to be in this. So like, I wanted to make sure I sent them something good. So like, no, absolutely. And then I was itching just like the rest of the fans for the last 4 episodes to come out. I didn't care that I was in the series. I just wanted to see what was going to happen. Like, I just wanted to see how everything was going to play out. So no, I'm a total fan of The Chosen. And I don't show this to any of my other series, okay? I'm a total fan of The Chosen. Like, I will watch this as every time it comes on, I will watch it. Every time I have an opportunity, I will watch The Chosen. That's how awesome that show is. I still talk about it, and that I've done it a year and so ago, and I still share that with people. I'm still getting love from fans from that show, which I love all of you, by the way. Thank you so much. Many of them are sending me portraits and paintings of Tamar, and they're gorgeous. And like, just like, I've never been so proud to be a part of any project as I am of The Chosen. Not only has the crew and the cast been amazing, the show, I am just so proud of it. Like, it's just the quality is amazing. I put a lot of thought into every single aspect of that show. Like you said, even if you look at it as a period piece, like there's just so much thought that goes into everything from the art, from the sets, from costuming. Have you seen Tamar's costume? All that is hand designed, handmade, like handcrafted. It is beautiful. It is gorgeous. I'm just saying. I don't know how many times I can say it. I might be able to say it in Spanish. But I am extremely proud of being a part of The Chosen. It is one of my most favorite projects to date to be a part of.
Wow, that is so incredible to hear. I feel like you should say it in Spanish. Just because
I should. Estoy orgullosa de The Chosen, ¿vale?
I love that. That was beautiful. But that is so cool to hear that you've watched it. I know a lot of actors hate watching things that they're in just because they're like cringing. Like, I know I've done that. I cannot watch things that I've been in, like whether it was a concert or a dance performance. I just cringe. And so that is, really cool that you have been able to watch it and get past that whole like cringing at yourself, and just be proud of it as a series. I remember, I think it was George Xantis. Wow, I cannot say his name. George Xantis. There we go. Sorry, George. So I remember George saying in one of the interviews that he doesn't really watch things that he's in, like most actors, but his family wanted to watch an episode. So he just I think he did put on episode 6, and they were watching the leper scene, and he was just going to show that little clip. And then before he knew it, they watched the whole entire episode. And he was just like, oh my gosh, wait, we have to watch all of the other episodes. So his whole entire family just watched the whole entire thing. And I think all of the actors that I've seen so far, they have been like, I've loved watching the show just as the show and sharing it with friends and family and just putting it out there because it is an incredible piece of art, and, especially incredible if you are a Christian, just because it is different than a lot of the other things that we've seen from, Christian media. And it's just been so cool to see a multi-series, like a multi-part series of Jesus' life and ministry. So thank you for sharing that. And so kind of backing away from The Chosen, we'll get back to that when we get to our fan questions at the end. But one really exciting thing about you that some of our fans might not know is that you were the owner and founder of a nonprofit dedicated to the progress, support, and diversity of actors of color in America. Would you please share a little bit of that backstory? I read that and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to ask about this. It just sounds so beautiful. So I would love to know how you came about founding it and what it's been like doing this.
You have absolutely done your research, and I'm like totally standing you right now. So, so it's called Dallas Actors of Color. And right now, although we'd love to be on a national platform, I'm focusing on the actors in my community of Dallas. And although I'm working pretty remotely right now. So Dallas Actors of Color was created because one day I was sitting at an audition, and I'm sitting around, and as you know, when you're at an audition, you're often there with a lot of people that look like you because they're calling in your type for whatever role it is that you're going in for. And I'm sitting there and I know not a single one of these people in here. And that's not the crazy thing. The crazy thing is I've seen all of their faces for the past few years that I've been acting, and no one's ever once been like, hi, I'm Amber, or I'm Sally, or I'm Sue. We just kind of sit there and it's more of a, it's just like, and I felt this overwhelming feeling of competition, and I just didn't feel community. And although a lot of what we do often feels like competition, I think we lost the sense of the community that's actually still there. And I wanted that. I missed that because I would see someone else come in and they would be like, oh my God, hey, I haven't seen you in forever. And it changes everything when you go into your audition, when you have this wonderful, beautiful feeling of positivity after you've seen someone you haven't seen in a long time. And it's like, we need this. We need to know that we're here together. Like when one of us wins, all of us win. And I also noticed that there wasn't a lot of platform for people of color, and that's inclusive of all people of color. So whether you're Asian, African American, Latino, Native American, it's all inclusive. And so I was speaking with another actor who's a brilliant actor from Dallas, and I was telling her about it, and she goes, we really should have some sort of, I don't know, a group or something. And me, I'm not one to think on something too long. If it's in my mind to do something, I'm going to do it because I'm such a procrastinator. I know that if I wait too long, it's not going to happen. And so the next day, I'm like, okay, let me get to creating this group. And that's exactly what I did. And so I started this organization. We had so humble beginnings, really. I think it was about 35 of us. Some of the people that I actually did know, I never really spent time with them, but I did know them more or less. And now I'm saying we're maybe about 2,000 of us now, from 35 to 2,000. And so we're kind of known in the Dallas community now. And so what we do is we provide a sense of community. We provide scholarships as well for actors of color. So we really like to focus as well on new actors in the industry because it's really easy to get scammed when you're doing this. I know you understand, like you get in, like, I want to be an actor. And then you have like all of these agencies and all of these photographers who are looking to take your money or take advantage of young actors and their parents with these huge dreams. Models with these huge dreams, and we're here to kind of circumvent all of that from happening. We want to provide you with all the tools, all the resources you need to hit the ground running and a safe place to do so. So we provide workshops, we provide scholarships, You want to make sure that you're connected with all of the right people, that you have, that you know who the right agents are and who are the trusted casting directors and the trusted productions. And if there are issues in the industry, like issues of maybe harassment or sexism or racism or anything like that, that this is a safe place to share your experience so that we can make sure that we nip this in the bud within our community, and so that we don't perpetuate anything like that going on as far as sending more people out to these type of companies, And so it's been really beautiful to see everyone come together. And now that I'm gone, and I was like, oh no, it's not gonna work. I'm not there anymore. It's just taken a life of its own, and it's beautiful. We have these huge mixers at least once a year. Everyone comes out together, and just it's really beautiful to see. And also one of the big things that we do, and it's really important to me, and that's one of the reasons why I was happy to be a part of The Chosen, is that representation matters. I've had so many fans contact me, and they were just happy to see someone that looked like them on TV. And that's what we want to do. We want to change the narrative. And we want to make sure that what you see on TV is representative of who we actually are. And so we also foster writers, directors on the creative side, on the other side of the camera, so we can change the stories that are being put out there as well. So we're just kind of like one big family, just trying to change things.
Wow, that is so beautiful, and just incredible that it's taken off. About 2,000 members now. That is just, a family. And for all of the actors of color who are in the Dallas area, I just wonder what a comfort it is, to them. Like you said, there are a lot of agencies that try to scam people who just are trying to dip their toes in and don't really know, the right and wrong way to do things. And the people who unfortunately are not nice and are not in it for their best. And so that sounds like an incredible community. And if we have any fans of color who are in the Dallas area, I was wondering, what is the organization called?
It's called Dallas Actors of Color, and it took off so fast that we still have a few things to catch up on, like an official website. Mm-hmm. So right now we're on our social media pages, which is Facebook, of course, Instagram. We have a website, but it's in baby stages. We're going to be making sure we have something a little bit more solid coming. But these things take time, as most things do. And as we're hoping to be nonprofit, with everything being shut down because of the current state of the virus and whatnot, it's hard to push things through government-wise. So we're waiting to get through bureaucratic paperwork to get our nonprofit status approved and whatnot. But it's Dallas Actors of Color. And eventually, as she mentioned before, we're hoping to go national, and then it would just be Actors of Color America. But so right now, it's just Dallas Actors of Color. So right here at home in Dallas, a nice little community. We do have events. So if you ever feel alone out there, you're more than welcome to just contact us, join us. We're here. We're a big family, answer your questions, especially if you're getting started. Whether you are a parent of an actor or you are an actor, we're here for you.
I absolutely love that. Thank you so much for sharing. And for any of our fans who are in Dallas, please check it out. It makes such a difference to be in a community. Like what you said earlier, coming into an audition and kind of having that sense of competition and not really trying to know everyone because, you're like, well, I want to get the part and they all want to get the part. You're right. It makes such a big difference if you are coming at it from a standpoint of, if one person wins, everyone wins. And especially when it comes to representation and, just trying to get more actors of color on screen so that, all the kids, can see people that they can, who inspires them. Like you said, Angela Bassett is one of your role models. I mean, just, more and more people that children can look up to. So I greatly admire your efforts in doing that. And as you mentioned, you're not in Dallas right now. You are in Madrid, Spain. And so how did you come to be living in Spain, and what is it like managing a career working between Europe and the US?
Well, so I came to Spain for love. And a lot of people, I kind of made a mini announcement, but not really a big one. But I'm recently engaged, so thank you. So like most of my family doesn't even know yet. So you.
Oh my gosh, the fans know before the family does. Wow, I feel like family. Congratulations! Oh my gosh.
So my fiance, which I haven't even I have not referred to him as that in public. So you guys are the first people to hear me refer to him as my fiance. Oh my gosh.
I'm in love. Oh my gosh. That is so incredible.
So I moved here with my fiance, who was, my boyfriend at the time. And he's from Madrid, and he said, Amber, no puedo vivir sin ti, which means I can't live without you. And he was like, but he has to go back home because his visa expired. He was a first-rate teacher. I mean, how beautiful is that? And so I asked my parents, I was like, what should I do? They're like, leave, get out. But I wasn't sure. And my career was going so well at this time. I was having auditions or booking things without even having auditions. They were just calling me in. They're like, Amber's good. Put her in the part. And so I do what I always do when I'm so lost and confused. I pray. And I pray and I say, okay, please, if this is what I'm supposed to do, make it to where it's my only choice. Make it so blatantly clear I have no other option. And God made it blatantly clear. And then you have two choices. You always have two choices. You can either do what feels safe, or you can step out on faith. And I will always tell you to step out on faith. And that's exactly what I did. And it wasn't easy. It's never easy moving somewhere where you do not speak the language. I mean, you thought your uno, dos, tres really meant something in high school. It means nothing when you move to the country. And so I moved here. It was really difficult, but I finally started getting the hang of things. I didn't work for the first several months. My agent in the States, who I still have, she was, sending me little things here and there, but nothing worth flying back for. Eventually, I found an agent here who believed in me. I booked nothing she sent me out for. She's like, I'm going to give you a probation period. She spoke just enough English to meet me in the middle. So I'm going to give you a probation period for 90 days. Booked zero things, okay? Zero. And she's like, I have a feeling about you. I really do. I'm going to sign you. And she signed me. And if I didn't tell you, I was like booking things left and right after she signed me. I was all over the place, from Barcelona to Lisbon to Milan and I was just like, is this my life? Like, who is this girl? And it just felt so amazing that, like, as soon as you trust, as soon as you step out on faith and stop holding on to what feels so safe and so comfortable, you'll see the most beautiful things happen in your life. And so I kind of managed life between here and the States by kind of, once you get to a certain place in your career, you have to kind of evaluate what's worth traveling back and forth. That's all. So The Chosen was definitely worth traveling for, by the way. So they were like, well, Amber, I was like, no worries. I will make sure I'm in the States. As long as you get me from New York, I will be there. And so that's exactly what happened. But yeah, so I still have projects that I will audition for, and I will make myself available for in the States should they need me. And then I work here. Like, I've auditioned for everyone from, I don't know if I'm under NDA. So let me not just in case, but like even Spike Lee and a few other big name directors that honestly, I know I would likely not have had that opportunity had I stayed in the States. So it really, really pays to step out on faith. Like, if you get anything from this interview, from watching me today, it's to step out on faith. It's easy to be safe, but it pays to step out on faith. And that's exactly what I did. So I kind of just managed life. I have tons of airline miles now. Listen, I used to be in the States flying back and forth like every couple of months, sometimes every few weeks. I work sometimes with a client where I work events for them sometimes as well in between jobs, just to make sure that I can, stay working with the people, keep my social skills up. But other than that, yeah, that's it. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of desire to just want to do it. Otherwise, yeah, you have to want to do this. And I really do. So I'm keeping that effort. I'm so close to London now. So I've started training at Identity School of Acting in London, which is an amazing school. If you are familiar with John Boyega, do you know who that is? Yeah. So John Boyega, he trained at Identity School of Acting. So did Letitia Wright, who played Shuri in Black Panther, the sister of Black Panther, as well as so many other amazing actors have come out of that school. They're alumni of that school. And now I am in that school. So I feel like amazing, like, woo. And so I'm going to be, of course, hoping to work more there as well. So I'm going to keep my little toes in all the ponds between the US, London, as well as here in Spain and the peninsula.
Wow. You're wearing so many hats right now. You're just like, okay, let me put on my US hat and I'll just go there and go to London. And wow, that is incredible. I've seen John Boyega in Star Wars. So I'm like, he's great. And yes, and also Letitia, like I've seen Black Panther. I'm a huge nerd. So I've seen all of the franchises. Oh, really? Dude, when Black Panther came out, I was like, this is a whole different level. I absolutely loved it. So
when it came out, I would just like pop out of places randomly to my fiance, yell, Wakanda forever. He'd have to go like, he had to drop whatever he's doing and go like this. It was the most, I don't care if he was cooking dinner or taking a shower or brushing his teeth. He had to drop everything and dude, it was the most amazing thing.
Oh my gosh, that is like such a thing to do with your fiance. Oh my gosh, that is like, I feel like every couple should have like a nerdy thing that they do.
You should. Listen, everything from what Lord of the Rings to Harry Potter to all the Marvel, all the DC, like that's me. I'm that girl. People look at me and they automatically have no idea that I would sword fight. Like, come on, guys, I'm a total nerd. I sword fight. Like, that's me. But, I don't look like where I've been.
Yeah. Okay. Well, here's a key question. In your nerdiness, have you ever done LARPing?
No, I have never done LARPing.
What? You've done sword fighting. You've never done LARPing?
No.
Well, for our fans who don't know what LARPing is, it's an acronym that stands for live action role play. And so you would literally reenact like scenes from Lord of the Rings and things like that. And you dress up as the character. And
can I get a couple brownie points back? I have totally done fan fiction though. Like I have written novels of fan fiction. I have an elven name and everything.
No way. Oh my gosh.
Galadriel. I still remember my elven name.
When did you write that?
I was like 17 for sure.
Oh my gosh. I absolutely love that. Okay. So you did fan fiction of Lord of the Rings, obviously.
I thought I was going to marry Orlando Bloom for sure. I have done tons of fan fiction and I would also do cosplay anytime that Comic-Con came to town. So I'm not so bad, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
well, I haven't done LARPing. I almost went to a Renaissance festival where we were going to dress up as Lord of the Rings, but then COVID happened, so didn't get to do that. But that is awesome that you did Comic-Con and stuff when it would come around. But I love when people nerd out. I feel like it's such a common theme, between people, no matter who you are, if you both love this thing, you can just become fast friends. So, and so since you're living in Madrid with your fiance, so obviously that is a near future life goal, but I was wondering, what your plans are for like career goals and life goals in the near future.
Well, I can only speak for Amber right now. I have so many things that I would love and that I would want to do, but God has a way of being like, haha, yeah, you thought you had plans. So I try to be really careful with that. But I, would love to be working more, to be honest. I would love more projects, more films, more series. I would love for The Chosen to blow up. I would love, because it's already blowing up in my opinion, but I would love for it to just take a hold of the world globally to where it just becomes a household name. I'm hoping that I don't have to work so hard to find jobs that they kind of start looking for me eventually. But I do hope that one day we could have this wedding. That's kind of on hold right now for many reasons because of COVID. Number one, I'm not working. And number two, because of safety reasons, we're not sure. And we're also looking to buy a home. So I'm wanting a home in the States and I'm wanting a home here as well. And so it's kind of hard navigating being an adult. Gosh, it's a lot harder than they said it was going to be. It's a trick, don't do it.
Don't grow up, kids. Do not grow up. Adulting is hard.
It really is. I would love to grow Dallas Actors of Color, and I have a few other foundations. A lot of people want to be actors for several different reasons. I want to do it because I love it. And I also want to do it because there's a platform I want to create from it of awareness for many different things. One of which, of course, is change the narrative and to create a community for people of color. To also create outreach and resources for mental health in low-income communities. And to also provide a service for our elderly and our senior citizens. So I have all of these because I love senior citizens. I know I told you maybe 15 times already how much I loved my grandparents so much, and it meant so much to me having them in my life. I was blessed to have them until I was about 25. I'm 32 now, and it's just they have a special place in my heart. Some people love working with children. And I love children, but I love working with older individuals. And so I have tons of foundations that I have a foundation that I would love to create to make life easier for them as well. And so being an actor, I think sometimes it gives you a platform for people to listen. So I could do this now. And people look, that's really nice, right? But if Robert Downey Jr. is like, hey, I have this foundation for everyone's like, oh my God, Robert, yes, let me help with that, right? So I would love to use my position of influence to be able to help other people. I feel like one of our purposes in life, actually the purpose in life, is to bring purpose to others, is to give back to others. We're social beings. And I feel like that's what our goal should always be, is to give. Think about Christmas. When do you feel the most fulfilled? Is it when you receive a gift at Christmas? Or is it when someone is opening a gift that you give them? And so I want to always be the one giving the gifts. And so that's what I kind of want to reach, that point where I can be in my career where I can do that and I can be that for people and to help people and to change their lives. But of course I want to work too. It's because I love it. I love doing this. As I mentioned before, it chose me. I didn't choose this life. It's very stressful. I want to walk across the stage. I want an Oscar. I want all that. Don't have a dream unless it's a big dream, boys and girls. Don't have a dream unless it's a big dream, because, those are the ones worth fighting for. Make sure your book is worth reading. And that's kind of the point I am in my life right now.
Wow. Amber, you are an inspiring person. Honestly, 32, you are inspiring me. You do not have to be an older person to inspire. I am just feeling so inspired right now. I think it's really special of you to focus on the elderly because people tend to forget about the elderly. You're right. A lot of people love kids and, that has merit in it. kids are our future. And so we need to invest and develop them. But we also can't forget about our past. And we can't forget about, our older citizens. And I remember when I was a part of a choir that would tour around, to different churches around the country. And we would go into nursing homes and we would perform concerts at these nursing homes. And it was just incredible getting to hear stories from these people living in nursing homes and just the life that they, lived. I mean, I've, spoken with people who were a part of the civil rights movement or people who were in Vietnam or other things in life. And it is just incredible to hear these stories from them and to hear their personal story. And, they don't live forever. And so you can only get those stories for a short amount of time. And so I think that's really admirable of you to focus on that group as well, that demographic. So I applaud you for doing that.
Thank you. I feel like there isn't enough sometimes. And that was one of my favorite things to do. I feel like a lot of times that they give the senior citizens this, old people kind of thing. And especially when you see them portrayed on television, they're always kind of senile or dementia. But the best part about speaking with the older generation is like the stories. I don't care if I've heard the story 15 times. I loved when my grandfather would tell me about being in World War II. And I loved when my grandmother would tell me how they met. And I just wanted to hear the story over and over and over again. And it's just such beautiful stories and so many gems of life. And I learned that the things that we care about and that we focus on are often not as important as we think they are. We give so much importance to minuscule things that won't matter tomorrow. What matters today are the people that you love and the people in your life, because everyone has a timer and you never know when your time is here. And so you need to love them with all of your heart and give them their flowers while they're here. And that's why the idea of celebrating someone when they're gone to me is just like, well, it's very depressing. Like I've always said, I don't want, and I hate to get dark here, but I don't want a funeral because I want to celebrate while I'm here. Like I don't want any of that. Give me my flowers while I'm here. We're going to have a party. So when I'm gone, it's a party. It's going to be a reception. You know what I mean? We're going to celebrate. And so that's what I want to do. I want to give them their flowers while they're here. And that's exactly what I think we should be doing to everyone in our lives and living it while we have it.
Yeah, you just have great perspective, Amber. I think, I need to do some introspection. I mean, because you're right, we tend to focus on such minuscule things that don't matter. I mean, sometimes we'll be praying and our prayers are all about ourselves. God, help me get this thing. Or, and it's like Santa Claus and we're just asking for things. And, when are we focusing on other people? What I love, and they focus on this a little bit in The Chosen, is, back in biblical times, they didn't have nursing homes or anything. And it was like your duty as someone's daughter to take them in if they needed, if they got sick. So like Simon's mother-in-law got sick. And so they were at Simon's house. And that was the role that you were expected to play because that honored your father and mother and honoring your relatives. And so, it might be an inconvenience, but, that family is so important. And so I love that they focus on that in The Chosen because that is so important. And we tend to get, very individualistic in the society where, people are like, oh, I, can't spend this much time with family, or I don't, want to do this thing. But I love how excellently you put it, give them their flowers while they're here. I absolutely love that. And we'll be, thinking about that when interacting with my relatives and my close friends. And yeah, because tomorrow's not promised. And that was really, really good perspective to hear. And so thinking of life goals and stuff, I was just wondering if we could hear the story of the proposal.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Yes, I will.
But I would love, if you don't want to share it, you don't have to, but
no, I'll be more than happy to share it. You'll be the first to hear it, I think.
Wow.
For sure. So this is exclusive.
Fans, you are getting so much from this interview.
Okay, so my fiance's name is Adrian, and I love the guy. He's not the most romantic. I'm the romantic one. And that's okay, guys. There's no roles in any relationship. So I'm usually the one with the, I giving flowers or cooking or something like this. He's a provider, and he's really caring and so sweet. And so our anniversary was coming, and I was like, okay, well, he's not going to plan anything. He's kind of like, let's go out to eat. Yeah. That's his idea of romance. I'll rub your feet and we'll go out to eat, which is, pretty nice. And I'm like, no, I want to do bed and breakfast or something cute this year. So I'm online. I'm like, I'm booking bed and breakfast. And he's like, don't do that. Why not? He's like, just don't do it. I'm like, I'm going to book bed and breakfast. What time do you want to leave? What time do you get off work? He's like, Amber, don't book bed and breakfast. Look, what is your problem? He's like, we're not going to be here. I was like, yeah, right. Whatever. I'm booking it right now. And he's like, Amber, please don't book the bed and breakfast. We're not going to be here. We're going out of town. And I did not believe him. I'm so serious. I did not believe him. I'm like about to book. You've ever seen, don't push the button. And I'm like, and he's like, and he sends me a text message with like a screenshot of some flight tickets. But he like cuts out where I was like, oh, got flight tickets. Okay. All right. Well, all right. So we're going somewhere. Cool. All right. I won't buy the tickets. Where are we going? And he wouldn't tell me. And of course, as usual, in the life of an actor, if you ever want to book a job, here is a big tip for you guys. Make plans. Make really big plans, okay? The bigger the plans, the bigger the job that you're going to book. So, of course, the days that he had booked to go on this vacation, I got asked to put on hold for a job. And because I don't know he's going to propose, I'm like, oh, baby, don't worry. Just fly out there and I'll meet you there the next day after filming. He's like, no, we'll reschedule. But God had other plans. And I didn't end up, even though I got put on hold for the job, I didn't end up booking it. And so we left. And on the way there, I found out we were going to Ibiza. So Ibiza is like, it's normally known to be a big party island in Spain. But since we went at the very end of the season, no one was there. So it was like really quiet, really empty, but really beautiful. So you can appreciate everything in the sunsets and the beaches. And I'm like, wow, this is really great. So we booked a hotel that was pretty empty. And I love him, but the kid is pretty cheap. He's pretty cheap. And so when we went to our room and I walked in, I was like, holy moly. It's like a huge suite. There's like this kitchen in there and like 3 balconies. And I'm like, this kid's got it all out. Like, this is crazy. He was like, wow, I didn't know they were going to do this. They upgraded us because the hotel is empty, which is a good excuse. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. Wow, that's pretty cool. So we make plans, to go do activities. And one thing I love to do, I don't know why I love it so much, is to see sunrise and sunset. I'm like addicted to the sunrise and the sunset. He could care less about the sunrise and sunset. He's like, it happens every day. Like, why do you see it? But this particular day, which is our anniversary, he was dead set on seeing the sunset. And I'm like, dude, calm down. It'll be here tomorrow. Like, right? So I'm like, no, let's eat. Like, do you know what paella is? Paella is like, it's a traditional Spanish dish. It's a huge, like rice and you have like shrimp and things on there. It takes a really long time to make. So he orders the paella, knowing he's going to propose, but not thinking about it, like how long it's going to take to make. And the place that he wanted to propose is like an hour away. So I'm not knowing. So I'm eating, taking my time. And he's just like, and I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, calm down. And he's just kind of being weird. And he's normally a pretty cool, chill guy. I'm the one that's like usually on edge. And so we finally finished eating. And I'm like, babe, we don't even have to go that far. The sunset's going to be right here. We're on the water already. He's like, no, we got to go there. I'm like, okay, chill out. We'll go. So we drive there. I'm like chilling. I'm enjoying my day. We finally get there. And it's a place called Esvedra. And it's like this gorgeous cliff setting. It's like the edge of the world. And then like right in front of you, you see like this big, huge island rock. And there's just like kind of a few rocks. It's just gorgeous setting. And the sunset's right beside it. And it's gorgeous. If you look it up, it's phenomenal, the photos. And so he's like, let's go. And I'm like, okay. So I'm walking, I'm like, okay, this is a great spot. He's like, no, too many people here. Like, it's fine. He's like, no, keep walking. Okay. He's being so weird. So finally he finds like the little, corner of a section where nobody is. And I'm sitting down looking at the sunset, and he's behind me, like messing around with his GoPro. And I'm like, you're going to miss the sunset. You rushed me out here for the sunset. You're not even watching it. You're playing with your GoPro. He's like, I forgot the tripod. So he's like digging a hole in the ground to put the tripod in there to record the sunset. I'm like, this kid is a mess. And so I'm sitting there by myself, like taking selfies and everything. I'm like, you're going to miss it. So he's like working up a sweat. Like, I have no idea what's going on. And eventually, I guess he gets tired of it, or he just figures out a way to get the GoPro set up. He sets his phone there and he says, let's just take a selfie. And I said, okay, let's take a selfie. So he sets his phone up. He puts it on record. I didn't realize this. And he stands there, and here we are. The backdrop is the sunset. And you have this beautiful island of Esmeralda right behind us on the edge of the cliff. And I'm standing there in this red dress, and he's standing there looking handsome. And he starts to act really, really weird. When he's nervous, his face starts to spasm. So he was just like, and he hugs me, and his heart is beating on his chest. And I'm like, honey, what is wrong with you? You're acting so weird. Your heart is beating so fast. He's like, I'm just frustrated from the GoPro. I was like, okay, all right, if you say so. But then he starts saying all these beautiful, sweet nothings about how he's so proud of us and we're so beautiful together, and how we make a wonderful team, and he just loves me so much. And then he gets down on one knee, and I'm like, at this point, like, of course, like, I'm like starting to hyperventilate a little bit, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. And then he pulls out the box, and like through my tears, it's like the ring like was lighting up. Like, it was the strangest thing. I found out later there's a light. Actually, I had it. There is a light in the box. But I thought it was my eyes because the ring was like glowing. And I was like, oh my goodness. And he proposed, and he said, would you make me the happiest man in the world? And you marry me? And I, of course, said, yes. It was the most beautiful romantic thing, and so unexpected from him, and just in the way that he did it. And you always think that you want this big, fancy proposal with all of your friends and the flowers and your family there. But in the end, it was the private, beautiful one-on-one moment that was just perfect. It was exactly what it needed to be. And I'm so blessed, and I'm so happy. And I can't wait to marry that guy.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for sharing. That is the most beautiful story ever. So you really had no idea.
No, I think right when he stood there, I was just like, okay, something's going on here. But like working up to that, I really had no idea. I really didn't.
Wow. Oh my gosh. That is just an incredible story. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. I have to send you a picture too after this. I'll send you the photo.
You're going to have to send a picture. We'll see maybe if we can like put it on the video as a picture, but that is just incredible. I love hearing those stories. So thank you for sharing, and indulging in that. So, but yeah, so, moving on to some fan questions. So this question comes from Catherine Menning. How did you find out about The Chosen? Was it your agent?
Okay, yes, it was my agent. My agent sent me, casting like normal, saying that The Chosen is looking for an actress for this role. And it was actually for the role of Fatina. So if you're familiar with Fatina, Fatina was the woman at the well. And that was who I originally auditioned for. And I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, I could totally do this. And I sent that in. And I heard back maybe a few days, maybe a week later. And they were like, no, we want you to audition for Tamar. We want you to audition for Tamar. And I auditioned for Tamar after that. And here I am.
Wow, that is so cool. I didn't know that you had to audition for Fatina. So wow, that is so cool. So following along with that, so Jane Muller, one of our fabulous moderators for Against the Tide Media, she asks, "What did you think of your role as Tamar? Like first thoughts when your agent sent you the role." I know you said earlier, that you built her from the ground up, but when you first got it, what were your first thoughts?
When I first received the role of Tamar, I was like, whoa, this woman has a lot of gall. Like who do you know that has this much like audacity to stand in the face of God and demand his help?
Jesus of Nazareth! I saw what you did to the leper on the road this morning. My friend has been paralyzed since childhood. He has no hope but you. Please, do for him what you did for the leper. If you are willing, Rabbi, you know you can.
Your faith is beautiful.
And tell him that he knows he can help you. Do you know what I mean? Like most of us are like, please, if you can, like maybe sort of. No, she stood there in the face of God and told him, I know that you can do this. Please do this because I know you can and you know you can do this. Like, so reading it already, I was just like, oh my goodness. Like, I wish that I had even a percentage of the gall that Tamar had. Honestly, I really, really did. And I was really lucky that they considered me for her. Because it happens a lot to actors is where they're like, okay, I like you for this role. And then they see what you do and they say, actually, you'll be better for this one. And so I'm super blessed that that's what ended up happening for me.
Wow. And since you've said that you've watched the show like 6 or 7 times, Muller also asks, what was your favorite scene? Either a scene that you were in or a different one?
That is so tough to answer because they're also beautifully done. It's also amazing. Okay, so let's see. I think my favorite scene is when Jesus turns the water into wine.
Go draw some out and serve it to the master of the banquet.
And when his mother tells him, when Mary tells him, she says, now is the moment, if not now, when?
My time has not yet come.
If not now, when? Please. Do whatever he tells you.
And he goes in there and he does it, and the look on Thomas's face, and it's just like, like what, like, can you just imagine being there in that moment? Like, I thought it was just amazing. Now, I have other scenes that I'm in love with, like when Mary is healed and the meeting with Nicodemus. Of course, when Tamar is there, I love these scenes. But I think I really love the wedding scene in whole because I just love the joy from that. I'm like a magnet towards positivity and good vibes, and that's all that was in that scene. And it was another side of Jesus that you don't always get to hear. You always hear this, oh, holier than thou, and this very serious and statuesque and stoic image that you always they talk about in church, and then you see in all these other shows, and you see him laughing and joking and playing around, and it's beautiful, and I feel so connected. And Jonathan does such a beautiful job with that. And then that scene with turning the water into wine, and I think that's my favorite scene for sure.
Wow. Yeah. I definitely love that one as well. I loved having Thaddeus talk about, being a stonemason during that same part where it's like, the first cut is final. You can't change the trajectory or anything. Like, it's so final. And so that's, just the weight of Jesus doing his first miracle, like his first public miracle.
I'm ready, Father.
Really changed the way that I viewed the story, because I kind of, viewed the story when I was growing up like, oh, here's this kind of weird like stories like turning water into wine, and it's just kind of like whatever. But then, really, thinking of the implications of him doing his first public miracle and, the course that is being set. And so I think I love that scene as well. I think they did a really great job with that. And so you shared with me that you're comfortable talking about your faith. And so I'm going to be mixing up Amanda Yoder and Janice Barfield's questions together and ask, how did your role on the show impact you emotionally and spiritually?
It really impacted me to be Tamar because it was coming from such a place of deep desire to want to help someone. And what I had to do to be able to connect with her in that moment was I had to think of someone who I wanted Jesus to heal so much so that I could have them there with me. There's nothing more in the world than I wanted than to have that person be healed. I didn't care about myself. I didn't care what happened to me. It was just for the sake of that person. And so that took me back to someone in my life that, meant the world to me, that's no longer here. That if I had the opportunity that Tamar had, would I do the same thing? And yes, I feel I say now that I would. And so it hurt, a little bit to realize that you don't have that. So it was a little emotionally draining to play Tamar at that moment. But when she's calling out to Jesus, that's emotionally draining because you feel what she's feeling, the pain, the desire, faith. And I think that working with Jonathan, I think someone may have asked this before to me, he really gets you in that moment too. Like, he has this thing that he does. He takes you away from everyone else, and he like holds your hand and he stares into your eyes, and he tells you like, I love you, and he speaks to you, and you really actually just, you're taken to this place. It's like you're not even where you are anymore. And so you really feel like Tamar. And, it's sometimes it's scary to not feel like yourself sometimes, but it's also such a beautiful experience as well to be taken to this place. But also, as I mentioned before, the most important thing is to remember to come back. To come back from there. But yeah, that's it. It did affect me, and it changed me. Like, I want to be a friend like Tamar. I feel like people deserve to have Tamars in their life, and I think we should all strive to be a little bit more like her.
I love that. And you kind of touched on the next question. So Kara Cotham asks, some of the actors have mentioned how moved they were when they were working in scenes with Jonathan Roumie, and they felt a spiritual presence that they hadn't expected, either in the scene with him or acting while he was off screen, but watching them on the sideline. So did you have a similar experience being like in the scene with him or around him?
Right. Okay. So it was like 125 million degrees. So I didn't watch too much of what he was doing when I wasn't on the scene. I wasn't in the scene, excuse me. But when I was in a scene with Jonathan has a process, and he's very connected to his process. And as every actor has a different process. So if you don't have one and you're doing your own thing, Jonathan will bring you into his process, whether you realize it or not. And like I mentioned before, he took me by my hands, and I'm like, hey, what's this guy doing? I didn't really realize what was happening because I can't quite remember, but I do know that you don't really film scenes in the order that you see them in. And he took my hands and he started speaking to me, and it took me a moment to realize what exactly he was saying. And I do not know what happened, but all of a sudden, I just started to bawl. I just started crying. Tears were coming out, and I was just like, okay, like, yeah. Like I just felt connected to him and in this place. And he finds it and he stays there. And if he can't get there, he will make sure everything else around him is silent, or Dallas will make sure everything around him is in a position to where he can get to that space, and he will bring you in there with him, because that's how dedicated he is to make sure that he is honoring the role of Jesus as much as possible. And so it's my job to make sure that he's allowed to do that. So as Tamar, as an actor, as a secondary, as anyone else, is to make sure that we are all supporting each other. We are an ensemble. And he is totally a team player. He's not like, hey, I'm here, I'm blaming Jesus, No, he wants to make sure that he is connected to, no matter how small your role is, he wants to connect with you, and he will do that. And I can't explain it. I don't know if I can answer the question, because I can't explain exactly what happened. Maybe it was something spiritual. Maybe it was just his light, just sometimes people are just so connected to God that it just shines through them, and you never know, but there's something special about him. But he took my hands, and all of a sudden, next thing I know, I'm just crying, and then are like, let's go, let's let's start the scene. And so what you see happening up there was real. So with everything I had already built up for Tamar, plus this connection that Jonathan had created between the two of us, that moment was now real.
Wow, that is so incredible to just hear, and just to be able to experience that, and being able to be brought into that space. I feel like that's really special. And just to have that process, because things can be loud on set, things can be hustle and bustle up until they say quiet, and then you have to start rolling. But that's really great to hear that, he has such a process that he will bring other people into, and you were able to do that. And that filled your scenes like even better, like that filled your role even better. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. As I mentioned before, everyone, they're not just great actors, they're great people. And that goes down to the cast and the crew. Like everyone, they found just amazing spirited people as well. And so it was not only just easy to connect with him as a professional on set, but as well as off set, going, to grab a cola or something like that. Like it was just, it's like kinetic. It's like this beautiful energy. And so it's not just what you see on TV. He's really like this, like off screen as well. And so is the rest of the cast. They're just these really beautiful people. And so they make what we do so much easier.
That is incredible. And Carol Wellsteed sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. She asks, what was something unexpected that took place during your time on set? And who was the funniest person on set while you were there?
Oh my gosh. You're going to have to let me think about this for a second. What was the most unexpected thing to happen on set? Well, I guess we've kind of already touched on it. It was that moment that I had with Jonathan. Like, I totally did not expect that to happen at all before my scene. You don't really have moments like that if you've never been on set. So I know most people watching are probably not actors. So when you go on, you usually you memorize your scenes, you get everything done, and then you go on set. Usually that's your first time meeting the other actors. You do what you have to do, and you leave. So you really don't have a lot of time to bond. And so having that moment with him was just like, it was totally unexpected. And then let alone have an emotional reaction to it. It was something I absolutely did not expect either as well. So that was a really beautiful moment. And the funniest person, oh my gosh, that's going to be like a tie. Like, they're all pretty hilarious. I really cannot pick one. So like Keon, the one who plays James, Big James, he is hilarious. Okay. Who else is hilarious? George, who plays John, he's a hoot. The guy who plays Barnaby, if you remember who Barnaby is, he's hilarious as well. So I can't really pick out of all of them who's the funniest because they're all complete nuts. Like, they're hilarious. Like, they'll find the funny in every single moment that happens on set. Happy birthday to Creed. Happy birthday to you. Sometimes that's the like oddest moments. So yeah, those are like the funniest guys on set for sure. And if I miss anyone, I'm really sorry, but for sure those are the guys.
Yeah, I know it always seems, or at least to me from interviews that, I've done, a lot of the disciples are really funny, and Barnaby's really funny too. And just like the whole trio of, the Zebedee family, they're just like all comedians. And it's just
every last one of them for sure is a comedian. Like, if they weren't disciples, that'd be their next career.
Right. I know. And I'm like, none of you are related, but I'm glad you guys are playing the same family because you're like the same level of funniness. So you seem like you're related. They
kind of look alike too, don't they? Like, they look really similar as well.
I feel like they do look similar. And they do have a lot of, like, they're very like boisterous and, not afraid to like do anything. So, just put themselves out there. And so I feel like that is very common between the three of them. And yeah, they do. Yeah, I think they do kind of look pretty similar. So, all right. One of our other fabulous moderators, Elizabeth Holenstein, asks, do you hope to come back in a future season of The Chosen?
That would be amazing. And not just for my own personal desires, but because I actually want to see more of Tamar. I really do. I want to see where her story goes. I want to see more of where she came from and more of where she's going. And when you see someone like that, like with a faith so beautiful and so strong and powerful, like, that there's got to be more. And before they even told me, they kind of announced on their page, like, don't be surprised if you see her in future seasons. So I'm like, like, really? So I'm just as excited as you guys are. So I have no idea if and when Tamar is going to come back, but I'm like, that's my biggest hope and my dream. I would love to come back. I would love to see the fam again and just be back there. It's like one of the, gosh, you feel so at home with the Chosen family. It's just, it's the strangest phenomenon. It really is. As many sets as I've been on, none of them has felt as home as the Chosen set.
That is so beautiful to hear. And I guess I hadn't heard that, but that would be amazing if she came back. Like, don't be surprised if she comes back. So I'm like, that would be amazing. That would be super cool if like they came back to Capernaum and she was like one of the big people in Capernaum who's like, you know, telling us about that. I'd be like,
you got to send that to Dallas. Be like, Dallas, you know what? You should make Tamar a boss.
I know, right? I'm like, dude, because like you said, she has a lot of audacity and she has a lot of gall. And, you know, I feel like I could see her, you know, making a scene in other places.
I could totally see Tamar doing all of those things. And like her faith just is going to take her places. And if all you need is a mustard seed faith and she's walking around with watermelon size, you know, like she's going to be destined for some pretty amazing things.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see where she pops up again. Deborah Brown asks, was it hard to learn to speak Egyptian? So you speak Spanish. Was it hard to learn Egyptian?
Well, okay. So there was kind of some conversation on what language they would actually have Tamar speak. So I actually went through a few languages before we got to ancient Egyptian. So first I had to do Arabic. I learned the line in Arabic, and then I did kind of this maybe sort of ancient Arabic, if that is even a thing or that exists. And then they finally settled on ancient Egyptian. So the Arabic was actually rather easy for the most part. And I have a lot of Arabic friends, so they were able to like teach me how to do that. I was like, oh, look at me, I speak Arabic. And then the Egyptian part came, or maybe the second type of Arabic, and that was a lot more difficult. And there was a lot more to say, and it was a little bit more intimidating. But then the Egyptian came, and it was a bit intimidating at first. And it's not so much the speaking it was the pronunciation, because it has a lot of clicks and like it's slightly different. And so I think a lot of people would be surprised to know that it was actually Jonathan who I believe did the translations, or who's the one who sent that. So like that man is just he can do everything. And so so learning that, it ended up being a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. It was intimidating when you first look at it, but it was once the scene started, it was just like it came out, especially once it's happening in a conversation. I would love to do more of it. I would love to be speaking more ancient Egyptian or any other language that they, you know, decide, because she's Ethiopian as well. So, you know, that would be an amazing thing to be doing. I'm sure that maybe people probably thought that I'd have an accent, because we all have accents in the show, which we had to train as well. So it's such a challenge, and I'm all for challenges. And so I'd be really excited to learn more, but it was intimidating at first.
Tamar, anaki, naniyoti Juanu.
Anaki Yeshua na Nazrati. Hatipuarta, snatia.
Hakmunak. Shalom to you all.
Shalom.
Wow. Yeah, I would be so scared about the pronunciation part, you know, like getting up there and then they say rolling and then you accidentally say something wrong. You're like, I'm so sorry.
But see, that's a great thing about film, is that they say cut and then do it again. Now, if you're on stage and then you have to do it, then, you know, it's kind of, but you just kind of keep going, because, you know, ancient Egypt doesn't exist anymore. So no one knows if you say anything wrong.
Very true. Just say it with confidence. And
archaeologist somewhere.
Yeah, that's cool that Jonathan did that. I had no idea that he like helped with the translations and stuff. I think his dad's side is Egyptian. So that is, wow, that is so cool.
He's like pretty impressive. And I think he did also the Aramaic and everything. So like, he was just kind of brilliant with that. And of course, you notice, because he is a little bit more capable at speaking the language and had a little bit more practice and work with it, that he spoke it a little bit more than Tamar did. So if you go back and check out the scene, Tamar's like, you know, Tamara naki na niyotawanu, and he's like, you know, he's like going and then she's like, oh, you know, and he was going. So he had like, you know, most of the words to say. I'm sure had I had as much to say as Jonathan did, it would have been a little bit more intimidating than it was. But even so, it was amazing to actually do. And then to see it, like when I saw myself do it, I was like,
oh my gosh. Yeah. I would be like so thrilled to be like, hey, that's like ancient Egyptian. That's pretty cool.
I did that. Like, that's how I feel when I'm watching Lord of the Rings. I'm like, I want to speak Elven, like, you know? So watching myself have subtitles, like that was the coolest thing that's ever happened to me, by the way, speaking ancient Egyptian on.
Wow. That is, oh my gosh, that just sounds really fun to do. And I'm glad that it wasn't, too intimidating to do, because, that can kind of, get in the way of, as you're prepping, because you're nervous about that. So that's really good. I did notice he spoke a lot, and I was like, dang, like you had to memorize all that. But if he was the one doing it, then that makes sense. Tara Smith, she asks, what was your reaction to your beautiful costume? Was the jewelry and costume cumbersome to wear being outside in the heat all day? Because I know it was, like you mentioned earlier, it was like a bazillion degrees when you guys were filming, and you did have a beautiful costume. And so, like, what did you think of, wearing it and then like wearing it all day in the heat?
Okay, so I had to be careful on set and remember that I was not a princess, because I felt like one. Okay. And Dallas used to always comment, he's like, Amber, your posture is just, it's so perfect. I have really good posture. My dad used to get on me all the time. So here I am with like this straight back and this, glorious wardrobe. And I really just felt like a princess. And I was like, wait, she's not a princess. So I had to kind of like loosen up a little bit, because that's what I felt like in that wardrobe. It was amazing to wear. Now, I would not say it was cumbersome whatsoever. It was hot no matter what you're wearing. Some people had to have, head coverings and all of that. And I actually feel for them more than I did myself, because my hair was kind of out. I got to breathe a bit. Everything, as I mentioned before, was like handmade, handcrafted. And I had so much pride and honor in wearing it. The belt was handmade. That was a little tight. So like to eat, they had to let that, I mean, my waist was snatched, but, had to leave room for my food baby at lunchtime. But other than that, like everything was like so amazing. It was hot, but they made sure to keep the actors cool. So, they would put us in like, there's like this cave, like the cave that John the Baptist, the jail that he was in, was actually like when they weren't filming the scenes there, they actually had that. It's kind of like a little waiting room as well for like the actors, where they had like blowing cold air in there and like cool drinks, and it was just like, oh yes, like it was so great. And then of course they had like other rooms in our trailers and things, so they made sure that we were. My trailer is actually really cold, so I didn't really have to worry about being too hot until I was on set. But then again, they were hot where they were. They didn't have AC. So you kind of have to use these moments. Actors have to do it all the time, where you feel uncomfortable and you use that moment with your character and you apply it with them. So, Tamar was probably hot carrying, her best friend in the middle of the, desert or wherever, Capernaum, blazing heat with no AC. And but I felt like a princess. I had my coins here, but I had to pretend. I think it was Dallas. I was like, I feel like a princess. He's like, yes, but you're not. I was like, okay, you're right. I had to remember, like, I'm not a princess. I am not a princess. But I felt like one, because everyone was like, Amber, I love your wardrobe. Like, it was, if I could have taken it home, I totally would, especially the necklace. Mm-hmm. Everything was just perfectly well done. Absolutely cumbersome. No way. Absolutely not.
I know, I was like, you're the princess of the episode. I mean, just because it was so beautiful and it was so different, because you have all the disciples who are wearing just plain clothes, and, it's kind of like, whatever. It's not like bland, but it's, just normal every day. And then you have like Tamar, who's like all dressed up and with the hair, and oh my gosh.
Right. So she's from Egypt, and you have to think Egypt is kind of like New York, it's like the New York of Mesopotamia. And so they're here, and it's like they kind of dress up to go buy toilet paper kind of thing, if you were to put it into today. So, and that's kind of how she looked. And so this was like a normal day for her. She's out there picking flowers and like this regalia. It's like 125 degrees, and she's out here picking dandelions, And so that scene actually was pretty hot doing that scene. But they make sure, like, they stand there and they have like these fans with the water and things, and they have umbrellas, so they take care of you really well. But yeah, it was hot.
Yeah, for sure. Israel is very, very hot. I've been there in the summertime. It is 110, 115, very hot.
On a cool day in the shade.
I know, right? So speaking of that scene, how long did it take to film all of your scenes for The Chosen? Like, how long were you on set, and were your scenes filmed out of order? I remember you mentioning that, in TV shows, they usually film out of order. So were your scenes out of order, and how long were you on set?
Yeah, so usually with films and television series, they do not film them in order. I've never been on a set where we filmed anything in order, for several reasons. So no, we didn't do Tamar scenes in order. If I do believe correctly, we came out just blazing and doing the paralytic scene first, if I recall. And so let me see. We did that scene first. I think I filmed for I was scheduled for 5. Maybe I ended up filming for 3 or 4 days, but we did it over the period of 2 weeks. So, or a week. Gosh, I'm getting old now. So, I filmed, yes, and then we had to come back 2 weeks later and film again. The last scenes, which I believe was the one where we were picking the flowers. I think we did that on the second week, if I recall, and it was a normal full day. I don't think I had any short days, so usually about 8-hour days, pretty normal. Some of them went on a little bit longer, but I don't think we worked more than 10, one maximum. But I think most of them were 8-hour days, so they're standard, if you're lucky.
Yes, I know. I've seen some behind the scene footage when, they were filming things at night, like at the wedding. It's like 3 a.m. because, you don't have to worry about the sun setting. Like, you have all night to film night scenes. So they were up all night.
Yeah, so luckily I had no night scenes. When you do night scenes, your call time is usually 5 or 6 p.m. That's the time that you come in and get dressed and get pretty, and then they set things up. And you don't start filming until the sun goes down. And then you have all of the night until sunrise. And that's your film time. And so I had all day scenes, luckily. So I didn't have to suffer through any of that. But I have had days on sets where I don't have to show up to work until 1 a.m. or 2 a.m., but I'm there. And I've had days on set where I've been on set for 18 hours. So luckily with The Chosen, they take care of you really well. And of course, crew stays on a lot longer because they're needed to handle everything. Like, what people see the actors and they're in love with what the actors do, and they're the face of a series, but the crew does all of the heavy lifting, and they make the magic happen. And so without them, there'd be no The Chosen. And so it's because of them that we have it, and such a beautiful project. And but they're the ones who put in all of this blood, sweat, and tears, to be honest. And they're doing the long hours. Dallas is doing the long hours. Everybody's in there just sweating it out. But it looks gorgeous. It came out and it was all worth it in the end.
Yeah, it was just absolutely beautiful. And I have appreciated they've put out a couple of videos. Some crew members talk about their roles, their jobs, and, how they film some things and, building rigging and things like that. And you are absolutely right. Like, they're there before the actors get there, and they're there long after they leave, because they have to build things, tear things down, and they make the magic happen. And, you're able to step into the world because they created it. And so, yes, they deserve so much praise for all the things they do.
Thank you, guys. And if you're watching this, thank you for everything that you do, because you guys are amazing. Everything from art to grips to lighting to just even the PAs who are running and getting us water and holding umbrellas over our head. Like, that is tough work. Like, it really is. It's like nonstop. So, like, the cast, the crew is amazing.
100%. All right. So I wanted to leave this last couple of minutes for you to share any last words, any parting words that you would like to impart on the fans, any inspirational thing that you can think of, or anything that you just want to tell the fans who are watching.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being fans of The Chosen. I feel like a lot of times some of these series and some of these films, and they forget that they wouldn't be what they are or who they are without you guys. So I want to thank you so much for just supporting everything that The Chosen has done and what they stand for. And I want you to also keep in mind that when you have things like The Chosen, beautiful stories of faith, that they're not meant to create faith. They're not meant to make you believe. They're meant to strengthen your faith, to help inspire you to go out there and want to learn more, want you to crack open your Bible. And that's I think, something that they have done a beautiful job at doing. And I really hope that it's been encouraging all of you to want to know more and learn more. I want to thank everyone who's reached out to me personally, who has sent me all of their photos and tagged me in all of their pictures and their posts. I love receiving these beautiful paintings. I think I mentioned it before, the paintings and the portraits. Listen, I went from never having a picture painted of me in my entire life, ever, to this quarantine having maybe like almost a dozen sent to me in a matter of a couple of months. And you guys have showed up and showed out, and it's been just beautiful to see and just even more amazing to be a part of. Thank you so much, Jenalynn, for having me here, for interviewing me. Thank you again to Guide Media for asking me to be here, interviewing me. I loved playing Tamar. It was one of, the greatest accomplishments of my career so far. I hope that you guys stick around for season 2. I am so excited to see. I am a fan of The Chosen as well, so I want to see what's going to happen. I'm just excited as you guys are. I want you to remember what I said about faith. When you have a choice between doing what's safe and stepping out on faith, always choose faith, because that's what's going to pay out in the end. That's what's going to change your life. It's always going to be worth it, I promise you. And anytime that you have a doubt in your life, anytime, listen to me, anytime that you have a doubt in your life and you're not sure what you're supposed to do, instead of praying for a sign, pray for discernment, because likely that is the sign. Often when difficult things happen in your life, we translate them as obstacles and a test, when actually it's directional. It's God trying to lead us somewhere, but we don't really understand it, and we don't know that He's trying to guide us. We just think everything is going wrong. Instead, ask for God to give you discernment so that you may understand what's being said to you, instead of just say something. Because if you speak Greek and someone's speaking to you in Chinese, you're not going to understand. Okay, so just ask God for discernment. And you just notice how everything in your life changes. Always choose faith and always ask for discernment, especially when you have doubt in your heart and in your mind. And that's it. That's all I have. That's my little gem. Be a Tamar. Okay? Be a Tamar to your friends. If you don't have a Tamar as a friend, be a Tamar. And that's all I have to say. Estoy orgullosa de The Chosen. Y sí, espero que ver más en el futuro.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think fans would appreciate that.
Yes, they do. That was fabulous. That was so fabulous, Amber. Such a good word. Oh my gosh. You were just like talking and I'm like, preach. Yes. Like all the fans, please just remember those words. Oh my gosh, that was fantastic. And thank you again to our fans and the fans of The Chosen. We couldn't do this without you. Keep bringing your loaves and fishes. And if you liked this video and want to see more, please hit the subscribe button down below and hit the notification symbol to receive notifications for new videos. And I want to thank the Against the Tide Media team. And most importantly, I just want to sincerely thank you again, Amber, for sharing your story with us, letting us into your heart and just sharing your heart with us. So thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me.
And we are out. Cool.
Hey, it's Dallas. I'm the creator of The Chosen, and yes, season 1 of The Chosen is complete. All 8 episodes, they're available right now. You can look up The Chosen in the App Store or Google Play, and we're easy to find. You can download it and be watching within minutes. And in fact, it's unprecedented technology. You can connect to almost any device you have directly, and you don't even need a subscription. So I hope you'll check out season 1 of The Chosen right now.
Perfect. And yeah, so, all right, let's make sure everything's good to go. Awesome. And then additionally, when I start, I'll count us in because I'm going to be doing speaker view just so the camera knows to be on me for it. I'll just count us in 3, 2, 1, and then I'll start talking. So just let you know for when we start. But yeah, we'll just get rocking and rolling. And awesome. Cool. So, all right, let me make sure I'm in speaker view. Awesome. Okay. All right. 3, 2, 1.
Why don't you come over here now? Once he's lowered, he's actually on the ground. You can go ahead and take a seat. Zebedee, James, and John are the ones who helped get him down.
Into creating that 30 seconds that you've seen on scene. And these 30 seconds that you have seen on screen.
Okay, so you did fan fiction of Lord of the Rings, obviously.
I thought I was going to marry Orlando Bloom for sure.
Oh my gosh, he was my first Hollywood crush.
Absolutely same.
Yeah, I'm going to show how young I am. I was 4 when the first Lord of the Rings came out, and he was my first Hollywood crush ever, and I was hooked, and I loved him. And then, because when you're 4, you think that the actors look like who they're playing, and so then a couple years later, when Pirates of the Caribbean came out, he looks drastically different. Yeah. And I'm like, wait, that's Legolas? Like, what?
Oh my gosh, I was so in love. Life. I have done tons of fan fiction.
And just as a offseeing thing, how I want to be respectful of your time. So there are a couple more fan questions, but if you don't have time for it, we will just cut to the end. So just let me know because I want to respect you.
I'm all yours for the rest of the evening.
Okay, cool. Because there's a couple more fan questions. There's 4 because there's 2 that are very similar. So, okay, cool. So awesome. And Carol Wellsteed, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name.
And action.
Excuse us.
Turn.
Come.
And we good? Good. Very nice.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap on day 12. Great work, everybody.
And we are out. Cool. Oh my gosh, Amber, you have just so encouraged me today.
I talked so much. I should have warned you.
No, you're totally good. I mean, I kind of expect people, you know, for my job, I interview people professionally. And so, but it's, you know, it's not like this. It's like job interviews. And so, I'm used to people talking a lot. And, you know, I think you talked a really good amount. I don't think you were over, you know, some people, they just kind of like go on and on and on. But
I had like a moment. I was like, dang, you know what? Mom brain. I don't even have kids. I have mom brain. Like, what was the question?
That is me all the time. Somebody will ask me a question and I'll be like, that is a good question. Let me tell you how to answer it, or how I'm going to answer this. And then I like stop and I'm like, wait, what was it again?
But have you ever been so embarrassed to like ask them what the question was again, that you just kept talking until you remembered what the question was? I was like, I am not going to do this. She said they can cut. So like, otherwise, if this was real life, I probably would have just kept talking until you asked me.
Oh my goodness. No, I think you're fine. That kind of reminds me. Have you ever seen The Office?
Yes.
Okay, so it reminds me of Michael Scott says in an episode, he's like, you know, sometimes I just start a sentence not knowing where I'm going, and I hope I find it by the end of the sentence. And sometimes I feel like that.
That's me 100%. I'm like, and sometimes I'll talk and I had a point, and then I'm like, I don't remember what that point was, but that's okay because I'll make a new point.
Yes, as long as you sound confident with what you're saying.
Exactly.
Just pretend, you know, you're saying the exact right thing. The one thing that is just embarrassing is when, you know, somebody will, you know, like somebody will ask a question and the person maybe like doesn't understand it, or they just want to talk about whatever they want to, and they'll go in a completely different direction. And then you're like, okay, how do I get you back on track without embarrassing them and saying, oh wait, but what about this? Like, because the audience might remember the question, and so they'll be like, oh, did that person just like not? And you want to make sure that they, you know, like you don't want to embarrass your guest, and so you know you just kind of have to redirect just a little bit.
Yeah, that's me. But I think I did okay. But sometimes I just have these moments where it's just like,
yeah.
So sure. Like, I was so sure I knew exactly. I had my answer. And then all of a sudden it was like, you know, like the little hamster just like, it got tired. And it was just like.
Well, see, sometimes I feel like the hamster, if you've ever seen this video, it makes me laugh every time. This hamster is running on the wheel so fast and he gives out, his little legs give out and he goes flying out. So I feel like that's my brain sometimes. I'll be like on an idea and then it's like, where did I go?
Basically. And then you just kind of have to get back there and not look like you didn't just have a total brain fart. So yeah, I think we did well. My fiance always gives me crap about, Amber, you can't tell a story. You can't tell stories. They're so long. Amber, just get to the point. I'm so sorry.
But you have to set it up. Like, I love your engagement story. You had to set it up. You had to say the context of Adrian doesn't, you know, plan a lot of things. He's not a romantic. You have to set that up because then you don't, if you don't, then you don't know how big that is. You know?
Exactly. Thank you. That's exactly the point. It's like you have to have some context. Thank you. Okay, I feel better.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, I also talk a lot. So, but I love stories. And so I love context. Yeah. Also, are you a fan of the Enneagram?
What's that?
You don't know what the Enneagram is? I was trying to figure out what you are it's a personality test thing.
Oh, no, I've taken the personality test. I can't remember which one I am.
Numbers?
I think I have it screenshot somewhere. Okay, so yes, I am a fan. I didn't really, sometimes you don't remember what stuff is called.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. Yes, I took it.
Cool. Yeah. Because I was trying to figure out what you are. I was like, is Amber a 3-wing too? Because you love helping people. You're also a go-getter. And so 2s are the helpers and 3s are the achievers. And so I was just,
I think I was a 2 something. I have to go look. I have to go find and see, because there's a test, I think, isn't there?
Yeah. I mean, there's like some online like free tests and stuff. I mean, like a true Enneagram person enthusiast would tell you that you're not supposed to take the test. You're supposed to read the book and read all the different profiles and then deduce which one you are and like which one you identify with. But sometimes, I'm like, self like introspection sometimes is not the best for me. So I'm like, who am I really? Did I pronounce your middle name correctly when I was introducing you?
It's Shanna, but Shanna's fine.
Oh, Shanna.
I'll tell you this. My dad says Shanna. My mom says Shana. So you're totally okay.
Okay. Well, I forgot to ask you before I did it, and we can re-record the very beginning of it because I, with my name, Jenalynn, like it's made up. And so people are like, is it Jenalynn? Some people, I don't know why, they don't look. And so they think it's Jocelyn. So they kind of glaze over it and forget spelling my name. Like you just cannot. It's funny to see all of the iterations of how people spell Jenalynn.
I understand. Like now, like I did like the name change a long time ago, but like, trust me, I understand. But no, my parents can't agree on how to pronounce that. So don't worry about it. It's perfectly fine the way it is. But I pronounce it Shanna, but my mom still calls me Shana. So no worries.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Also, I love, like, the name is so pretty. Like,
thank you.
It's so beautiful.
Thank you.
That's hilarious. Wow. I mean, sometimes, a good name is a good name, kind of.
It's true. This is true. So, yeah, my parents are strange.
Okay. What does Eden say? She's like, we're not crazy. We're colorful. Like, we're fun. That is super cool that you're at that London school. Like, holy cow. Like, how, like, are you intimidated by it, like, at all?
I was initially when I saw their lineup, their alumni lineup. I'm not sure if do you watch any secular television?
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever seen Snowfall at all?
I haven't seen that one, no.
Okay, well, IDSA is the name of the school, Identity School of Acting, and they have a list of alumni that is just that'll blow your mind. And so the reason I ended up signing up for school is because they're kind of like Dallas Actors of Color. So there was this school, and they were like, none of the schools here are kind of focused on actors of color here, and even the structure, the content, the narrative is not keeping in mind what the actors look like. Like you can't give me a script from Friends because I can't relate to living in this huge, like, penthouse in New York. Like, that's not. But I have stories of being just a regular girl. Like everything is not about me struggling in life as a single mom. And so. With this in mind, they're like, we're going to provide a safe space for everyone. It's not just for people, for everyone to come. But we're going to make sure that we change the narrative. And they did this, and they started shooting out big time names, A-list actors. And I was just like, whoa. And then because of coronavirus, they started offering courses online. And you have to audition to get into the school. And I was like, why not? I've been looking for an acting school. Kind of intimidated to go to one here in Spain because they're on Spanish. And even though I speak Spanish, it's like to do the whole class. My sword class, all my combat classes are in Spanish. But to act in Spanish is just totally different.
Yeah.
And so here it is in English. Like, oh, I auditioned and I got into the professional course, which is like the top tier course. And so I was even more excited. And I just want to be a part of that number. Like, Lord, please let me be a part of that number. Like, they have an agency, so they still rep like Letitia, I believe, and John as well. So they still rep these big name actors. And so that's kind of the next goal, to be able to take my career to the next level, is to do well enough in the academy portion that they decide to want to rep.
Wow. That is crazy. I love that. That is just like, I mean, like you said earlier, like dream big, shoot for it. Like, you know, you can't just do small little things. Like you have to put yourself out there and just be confident. And, you know, even if, you know, you think it's a little crazy, like who knows, it could actually happen. So don't limit yourself. So, wow.
Yeah, dream dollars, because the thing is you're gonna get there. You're gonna get close. And if you dream pennies, you're gonna get pennies. You dream dollars, you're gonna get dollars. And and not to say from the money standpoint, but just from the effort that you put into it. It's like if you dream small, that's where you're gonna go. And imagine if you dream small and you kind of get there. You're like, okay, you kind of got there. You dream big and you kind of get there. Like, just imagine how big that step is to kind of get there. So if I say, I want to win an Academy Award and I kind of get there, that's still a pretty big deal. Do you know what I mean? And so, like, that's what I always encourage people. It's okay to have, you know, smaller goals. All those goals, but a dream. Like, dream big always, for sure. Do you have any dreams?
Well, see, the thing about me is I love a lot of things. And so, you know, my whole entire life has kind of been, you know, I'll kind of have one dream and then, you know, kind of what you were saying earlier, God will have a sense of humor and laugh and say, you know, this one isn't the right one for you right now. And so, you know, I've been singing and dancing since I was 3, and I was a senior in high school, and I was going to go to a conservatory program with a theater, and God decided to shut that door. And my whole entire life was like going to that point. And so I had no idea what to do. I had like an identity crisis and like developed an eating disorder. And it was like the worst year of my life. And thankfully, God rebuilt me, and he rebuilt my love of learning and my love of people and just humanity in general. And what I really love about acting as well, and, you know, I love film for this, is I love seeing humanity portrayed, especially like so intimately and so raw. Like I love like a good close up where it's like, you don't have to say anything, but you know exactly what they're feeling and the depth and complexity of what they're feeling. Like I have a thing for faces, and I love seeing actors. I mean, I've even seen this in Marvel movies. Like I'll be an actor in a Marvel movie and I'm like, your face. I'm like, you were just saying so much without saying anything at all. And so I love that about humanity. And I love asking the question, why do people do what they do? And so I went to college in New York City. It was a very tiny Christian college, but it was in New York City, hence why I have all of New York up here as artwork. New York City stole my heart. So I want to get back there someday soon. But I started just wanting to know more about people in general. And if it wasn't going to be performing, then I wanted to go more into like anthropology and like sociology, and still getting that, you know, why do people do what they do? And how does that affect culture? Like, you know, religion, politics, economics, all of those things influence culture, and culture influences those things. So I love culture. And so, you know, if, you know, God is still keeping the performance door closed, you know, that would be one way where I would do that. But then I do have another dream of being a professor and teaching about culture. And so I have like a dream of like Jenalynn at age 60 would be like this, you know, awesome, like spunky New York City professor teaching like sociology and just being like, you know, the cool professor. Like I want to be the cool professor. So, cause like I've had a lot of cool professors. And so I want to be that person.
And you are that person. Where were you from originally?
So I grew up outside of DC, and then I went to college in New York City. So I'm an East Coaster through and through. So,
but you were in Chicago, right?
yeah, so I was in Chicago for my job. So I moved from New York to Chicago, and then my job brought me here in Dallas. So
you're a sociologist like me.
Say it again.
You're a sociologist like me.
Well, so I didn't study that. I studied. Well, okay, my school's interesting. They kind of make up degree names, and so my degree is called Media, Culture, and the Arts, and so it's like a liberal arts.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, so it's really cool because it's very interdisciplinary. So I took culture classes, but then I also took art history, and my art history professor, he loves like just history in general. So we learned, about, okay, why did this person paint this glorious painting that we all know and love? Like, what was he feeling and what was going on in society? Like, if the French Revolution's happening, you need to know how these people were thinking and feeling to paint these pieces. And so, so I would like to get like my master's in sociology or anthropology, and ultimately get my doctorate. But so I don't know when that'll happen, but would love to do that.
One after my own heart. I'm the same way. I'm just like, I believe that just as we're social beings, and I like to know the whys of everything that we do and how that influences everything. You really should travel. Like, let me tell you, the greatest learning experience I have ever had was being the other. And of course, being a Black woman, you have, and you're born kind of feeling this way in essence, but you're still an American. You still have a collectivity with the society. You still have community. You're still an American. But leaving this and going somewhere else and being the other now, it will change your entire life. Like, it'll put everything that you've ever learned into play, into perspective, and it will humble you in ways that you never. I mean, I'm sure because of what you've been through, you've already felt like you felt things, that some people will never have to feel their entire life. But you will just, it will change. It will change you to be, even if you just do it for a year or a few months. Like, I really highly encourage you. A lot of people do a couple study abroad programs. A lot of my friends have a lot of American friends actually here. And I would consider that. I feel like that would, as someone who's in a similar kind of what would we call this, concentration, it's affected me and it's changed me to be here. It really has.
Yeah, I know. I was planning to travel more this year, and then COVID happened. I've been to Israel a couple times, and there I can definitely attest, like not being Israeli like that. It was very, very different, and like trying to learn the culture and how things work, the inner mechanics behind what people say and what they mean, like the slang terminology and stuff. And so, but I do have a couple friends I have a friend who's about to study in Poland, and then one who studied in Hungary. And the one who studied in Hungary, she was like, oh my gosh, this just absolutely changed my life. She knew Hungarian a little bit because she has family there, but like being immersed in the culture, I mean, it was like totally.
Okay, sometimes. It is, but it's so rewarding. It's you'll cry, you'll laugh, but it'll be like something you've never experienced, and you'll have a whole new appreciation for those who have to experience that where you live, where you're from. Like, you're like, whew, I had no idea like how difficult it is. Like, when you're a brilliant woman, you're intelligent, you're beautiful, you're smart, and you have all of these things that you've done with your life and that you're capable of. Imagine not being able to say that, to communicate that with anyone. Yeah. All you can do is like ask where the bathroom is. or just how your day went, kind of. And like, you're funny. Imagine not being able to like be funny. Like you can't. Like, I'm more funny in English, I promise. Like, it's just such a challenge. But it's really beautiful. It'll change your life. So if ever you get the chance, if ever God puts that in your path to go somewhere, and He says, "Hey, Jenalynn, you can be here. We got this for you for a year or 6 months or whatever to be in this country for a certain amount of time," I think you should take it. I don't know why this is in my mind or my heart, but I think that's something you should consider.
Thanks, Amber. Yeah, I would definitely love to travel. And I mean, I just have so much respect for, people anywhere, but, because I'm living in America, I have such respect for, people who are learning English as a second language or as a third language, depending on how many languages they already knew. Like, you're so intelligent for trying to like figure out multiple languages in your mind. And I have so much respect for people. And you're right. Like, they may not be able to, say exactly what they want to say. And it may sound broken. So it doesn't sound like as coherent, but that does not attest to their intelligence or anything. And so, I love, and I highly respect, people who put themselves into places where it's like, I might step into a classroom and I might not know all of the words that they're saying. I can kind of get by, but I like have mad respect for people who just dive in and just go into those situations. They're incredible.
Agreed.
But cool. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time. Also, I forgot to press stop recording. So I'm going to do that now.
A blooper reel. Don't put this on there.
No, do not put this on there.